Hello everyone, and welcome to the first edition of my coding vlog. Um, so as it's my first one, it's probably going to be a bit rough. Also, I didn't plan anything that I'm going to say because I want to give it a more authentic feel. So, for those of you who don't know, my name is Alan, and I'm making a game. I'm giving myself the challenge to make it in 3 months um, to the App Store. Actually, I'm putting it on Android first to the Play Store. So the name of it is Santa Flight Christmas Delivery. As you can guess, it's a Santa game. So without further ado, let me show you the code. So if you see on the left here, I'm using Zero Brain Studio. It's a Lua IDE for Corona SDK. So Corona is a great free piece of software. They do offer you subscriptions packages, but you can develop completely in starter. And then if you need to get the extra features later on, you can upgrade it or subscribe, whatever you want. I think the cheapest subscription is €16 a month, so it's very little as well. So here's my prototype so far. We've got an animated Santa sprite. There's no collisions in yet. I've got some missiles coming at him, and I've got some houses running across the bottom. So it took me about a week to get this looking as it is, and then I spent another week going through the code I wrote and optimizing it, implementing JSON and a few other things. So the basic controls are, if you touch the left, Santa goes up and down. So if you can imagine, there's a high lane and a low lane. So I'll refer to them when we get into the code later. So high lane, low lane, high lane, low lane. And then also, the main point of that mechanic is avoid the stuff coming at you. Simple, very simple. Because I'm trying to get the game made in 3 months, I couldn't really attempt anything more difficult or involved, because mechanics are hard to get right. Okay, so I think it's looking well enough now at the minute. I'm just doing a transition from one point to the other, so I'm not using the physics engine to move him. That I may run into issues with collision detection later on by using the transition, because essentially it's changing his x coordinate by 1 pixel every frame, or for a set amount of time. So what this is actually doing is it's removing him and then placing him 1 pixel on. So if you can imagine, if a collision happens just while he's doing that change from one position or one y coordinate to another, it might somehow weirdly affect the physics engine. I remember running into problems like that before, but maybe Corona have actually made some improvements with their newer builds since I was developing it last. Okay, so the other mechanic then is, as you can see, it's kind of addictive. I'm not even thinking about it, I'm just avoiding them just naturally. The algorithm I have in here for avoiding them is just throw one on the top, throw one on the bottom, throw one on the top, throw one on the bottom. So it's just basically to make you move. As you can see, or you may have noticed, that the game is a lot faster now than it was when I started. So I have implemented a basic game speed variable. So the other mechanic then is fire off a gift. So if you fire a gift and you get it in the chimney, you get Christmas Spirit. And Christmas Spirit, there you go, that would have went in. Again though, there's no collisions, so it wouldn't have worked right now. But Christmas Spirit allows you to keep flying. So as it's an endless runner, I wanted to add an extra element to change it up a little bit, to allow you to keep going, and that's, you're going to have a Christmas Spirit meter here. and the more presents you get, the more Christmas spirit you get, and your Christmas spirit is running out the whole time. So it's like a timer, and as you get a gift into the chimney, you increase the timer. But if you miss the gift, you decrease the timer by even more. So I really like this the dual mechanic. I really think there's something there to it. It's very difficult to implement though, and it's very difficult for people to understand it at first. And that you can't use a single finger to control the game. You need to use your two thumbs and hold your device like a controller for a console or for a computer. Okay, so that's the demo. I wouldn't even say demo. That's the very basic proof of concept prototype. So let me show you what I've been doing. So Zero Brain Studio, as I said, is my IDE. Here is my entire game. So we'll start with main. All I'm doing is main. In main is that I am calling the director class. So I don't use main. It's not descriptive enough for me. It's not. I might like require some globals or just do this kind of thing, like just set the status bar to hidden. I have my debugging software there. One of the beautiful things about Zero Brain Studio is that if I was to put this IP address in there, save that, I can build my app for Android, get the little APK file, I actually build it directly into my Dropbox folder. I install the APK through Dropbox on my phone, and then once I hit start on this start debugging server, I get debug information back to Zero Brain Studio from my phone, and I can actually step through the code in Zero Brain that's running on my phone. So it's actually using your computer as a debugging server. Now I haven't I haven't had much need for it yet, but I have it all set up and I've tested it, and it looks to be really powerful. Okay, so yeah, as I said, I don't really use main. My director is pretty small at the minute. All I've got it doing is loading the assets into a local game assets table, and then calling the game loop. Okay, so let's find load assets. So load assets equals require load assets. What's it doing? Okay, so load assets is requiring globals, requiring assets, requiring remove, parallax, load sprites. So this is basically doing exactly what it says in the tin. It's going to get all the assets, display them outside the screen, and then it's going to do the parallax as well, because I wanted to keep the parallax separate from my game loop, because that game loop module gets big fast. So I'll just walk you through it. Global data.load background layers. So where is my globals module? Here. So load background layers. So I want all my game layers to be global, because I don't really want to be passing them back and then back to my load assets module and then into my game module. I want them there to be accessed from anywhere in the game at any time. So I have tight control over my globals. These are all the globals I have in the entire game. Obviously not that one, it's a local. So I have my screen width, screen height. They're just really handy you access them so often. My screen center, X and Y coordinates. my top lane position and my bottom lane position. That's Santa's lane. And then my game speed variable. My background layers, my game layer. That's where all game assets will be stored, all collidable, interactable objects. And then I've got just two convenience functions for printing out the contents of an array or a key value table. So I just call the function, pass the table in, and then it's going to print out everything that the table contains. It's just a convenience function for me to debug. Okay, so that's my globals. It's just going to load all the stuff into global memory. Then I'm going to load the collision layer in the globals again. That's fine, I went through the whole globals list already. Assets.assetList, so that's here. So this is, I put a little bit of work into this to make it use JSON. I'm dynamically accessing layers, global layers as well, which is useful. So where are we? Assets.assetList. So it's gonna assetList is going to return a list of asset paths to this table called assetList. So I'm just going to set up a table here called assets, add background 1, background 2, game objects, and game objects houses tables into it. So I'm just going to set up a table structure within assets. I'm going to decode my data / backgrounds.json. So if we go into data here in the top left, backgrounds.json, here I have number 1 and number 2 because I currently only have 2 layers in the game. And I've got my image paths for each layer. So currently I actually have the same image in layer 2, and I just flip it and repeat it. I'll show you that after. And this is the image of the sun in the background. So that's simple. I'm just going to get that into backgrounds. I'm going to loop through the JSON array. And then I am going to, what am I doing here? I'm doing a nested loop. So for each entry in background, so that's for each of 1 and 2, for I equals 1 and the number in background k. Okay, so that's for the number in either 1 or 2. So currently I only have 1 entry in 1 and 2. Assets background k. Okay, so this is the funky line. So assets is this table. So I'm setting assets background. See the way here I've said background 1 and background 2. Well, k here is going to refer to either 1 or 2. So background 1 is going to be BG, and when k is on the first entry here, it's going to be 1. So I'm dynamically accessing the table in assets in order to set the path of k and I. So basically this just meant that I didn't have to say if background k equals 1, then set bg1 to layer 1 to this. Else if background k equals 2, then set this one. I'm dynamically setting it in a loop. So I just say this, and then it sets it for every entry. If I was to put in a 3 here, it'd just add it to assets.bg3. That's a really powerful feature of Lua, to dynamically set table values and dynamically access table values. Yeah, I like Lua. Then I'm doing the same thing for the game objects. So game objects.json. This is a simpler one. I'm using a key value JSON structure. So I've got houses array, and in here I've got 3 paths. So I'm learning a lot about vlogs and about vlog lengths. My screen recorder cut me off there, so sorry, I went way over time. I've been trying. I said to myself I'll try to keep this less than 10 minutes. It ended up being 15. So we'll put it down to a beginner's error, and we'll. I'm just going to finish it there gracefully. And there'll be more. I'll release one of these every week, and I'll try to get a text blog post in between. So just to finish it up, that is the load assets part. I've showed you everything there. It loads up the assets and gets ready to start the game. So I'll just tell you really quickly. After all these backgrounds and game assets are loaded up and they're placed outside the screen, we start our parallax, and that's all it's doing. And our director calls the game loop. So tomorrow I'll walk you through what I'm actually doing with the parallax. Or not tomorrow, next week, and then I will show you the game. The game loop even. So yeah, I'll leave it there. Thanks to everyone for sitting through that enormously long vlog. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you picked up something from it. I know I certainly did enjoy it. Okay. Hi everyone, it's Adam McGrain from Kelpcraft Games here. If you liked that video, please give me a thumbs up or subscribe below. Also give it a share. Go on, you know you want to. Bye!